Hello everyone. Welcome back to the stream. Today we're back on Le Mans Ultimate. Welcome. We are here at Sebring. So we are for nitrous this time. It's the fourth round? Yes, fourth round now of the US versus EU series with us in the Hypercar class. We want to get going as quickly as we can here. Thankfully, in a way, we're one of the closest people to pit exit, but it is still a very far way along from pit exit. Sebring, a very tricky track, one that we did quite well in when it came to the LMP3s that we did on the last Thursday series. But in the Hypercars, it's a bit more difficult, I would say. So, yeah, gotta be careful here, of course, big nighttime. Conditions are quite cool. And tires are quite cold, as demonstrated entering T1. Struggling just to put the power down. Of course, with Sebring having the different pit lane that isn't on the start-finish straight, our first flying lap technically has already started as we head into T1, but as you see, the tires so cold, the GT3s will probably set a quicker opening lap than we can in the Hypercars. Look at that, just waiting for the car to turn. But yeah, Sebring, very difficult track, very bumpy. Of course, you've got the concrete slabs, especially into Sunset Corner. You also have the hairpin here, which you can see the bumps into. It's why you traditionally see lines that aren't right on the edge of the road, because that's where the bumps are the worst. So with these cold tire temperatures, just have to be careful. It's really just about surviving. And not throwing the car off or spinning and sliding the tire, damaging it in any way. Just gradually build some heat into them. Of course, curb there through. Approaching the Mon corner that leads us onto this back straight, the pit straight you could say in this ledge. Gotta be careful not to bottom the T-tray. I heard it scraping there as we just went a little too far across it. Welcome, Geeky. Glad to see you back. Hope you've had a good week so far. The weekend only coming right up. We have the first lap time in, but we're expecting times below 150. And we're over 20 seconds away from that, so it shows you just how much of an improvement, you know, how little grip there is on cold tires. This morning was interesting. The way you put that makes it seem like a not a good interesting. Hopefully it wasn't too bad though. Yeah, just seen the fastest GT3 out lap was a 2:09.0. 1.7 seconds quicker than the quickest Hypercar out lap. So of course, typically this would be our normal out lap at most other tracks. You can just see the improvement. The delta doesn't even go far enough to show the full improvement. But still, well off where we want to be by the end of the session. Gotta be careful with locking the tyres, very easy to do so right here at Sebring with the bumps. Ah, yeah, that does sound interesting. The rear wanted to lock there, and it was about to lock for a very brief moment. The rear started to move about. Thankfully able to keep it on the road. Tyres still to reach 60 degrees. The front left is just about reached that mark now. The ideal tyre temperature is sort of towards 80 degrees. So it shows you we still have a bit of ways to go. On getting the tyre in. Yeah, but people can't read Gigi. People are also lazy and gullible. Oh, one of the Porsches into the pits. That's not good for them. Ooh. That's only rear damage. I can continue with that. I did not expect to lock a rear tire at that point. Yeah, that caught me by surprise. It's only bodywork damage. There will be little flat spots on the tires. But yeah, we just gotta carry on. too tight maybe on the apex. Tyres up above 70 degrees now. Annoyingly just locked the front right as I went to turn into the first right-hander there. Pushed me out a little bit wide, left me tight into the left-hander. Jump back up to P3. Rear tires felt like they were starting to slip, and I just got a spin trying to put the power down there. Again, sort of like that. Rear tires definitely lost a bit of life in that spin. Oh, the braking's so difficult. Now, some corners with the bumps, the front tires just want to lock. In others that are smoother, it's the rears that are locking first. Field very spread out at the moment here. Which is not going to make for an interesting race if the race pace is similar. We're not quite getting the tires up into the 80-degree range, and they are starting to wear out. So they might be past their best. We're finding little bits of time and places, but trying to hold it for an entire lap is proving to be a bit difficult. That was a line and a half. Bump down to P4 now. We'll get one more lap in. If we get sunset right, we should bump ourselves back to P3 here. Not sure if we can get P2. It might just be a little bit out of reach. Lost the time through sunset. That was round the limit in that braking zone. No good first sector. Braked a little too late. I don't think this lap's going anywhere, so might as well practice a pit entry. Yeah, Sebring, it's tricky. Yeah, definitely had the pace for P3. I'm not sure about P2. You know, I think that spin is really what prevented us from having any chance of getting P2, and probably what prevented us from getting P3. It is time for math. So we're looking at 33 lap race. Oh, let us get new tires on, of course. Fill up with fuel. That should get us 28 laps. So it should. And then that would be another 5 laps to go to the end. I'm going to put 1 extra bit in the fuel ratio just to make sure we're safe there.
Teams and drivers go to the grid for a race start.
Yeah, P4 in the grid. We'll set our virtual energy. Hopefully, we won't have any issues in the race that require us to pit early. But yeah, we'll see how this race goes. Of course, we'll have cool tires at the start. We'll want to take it a little bit easy, get them up to temperature, and then, yeah, ease into the race. Not make any mistakes, get into a good rhythm, good flow. It won't be full push, just because it's too risky here. Too likely to make a mistake and ruin the race.
Formation lab has started.
Just getting heat into the brakes. Try and keep tire temps up. 5:30 in the morning. I don't know if sunrise is before 6:30. But might get a little smidge warmer. Only by a couple of degrees, though it won't make any major difference. Here we are, ready for the start.
Green flag, green flag.
Yeah, I accidentally pressed the button too early. I'm so surprised I didn't get a penalty. Oh. All I got was severe damage. Damage doesn't feel bad at the moment, but yeah, dropping to the back of the field isn't good. Car still seems to be running straight. And Porsche's nearly finding the barrier. Oh, that caddy's gonna go find a wall. Did a good job to hold on to that one. Oh dear. Oh no, that's bad. Oh yeah, that's a lot of suspension damage. Yeah, I'm gonna need to fix this damage. Can't pit yet, because otherwise we'd be pitting again. We'd be making 2 pit stops or doing extreme fuel save. Can't afford to put any new tyres on the car. Otherwise, you know, we'll lose even more time changing the tyres and warming the tyres up again. Just need to put the VE back up to 100. There's a Porsche that's had a spin. Too much carb. Right, we can now pit at the end of this lap. Hopefully the repair time isn't too long. But with it, 3 corners of the suspension being damaged and the rear bumper, I could see it being a while. Make sure I've damage repair turned on, otherwise this is a bit pointless. 46 seconds, that's a lot. I hope I don't come out right in the middle of the GT3 pack. Yeah, I won't be coming out of the pits ahead of them, but as long as I'm not in the middle of the pack, that's alright. Am I actually... Yeah, I think I'll be behind the pack, absolutely. Look a little more at the leaders of the Hypercar class here. I will be. I have them. That rear right. Yeah, That took a bit of a beating. Oh, just about. Turn in. Because I wasn't braking on the racing line there. I didn't want to be defending in the middle of the track. Had to be easy on the brakes. Oh, Zach's had an issue. That's the line. Maybe could have gone for that move, but a risky move with the bumps and not having ABS in the hypercar. I do not need to push that brake zone as hard. Oh. I just tried to put the bar down and the car was like, nope. Because, yeah, that's 12 seconds I'm not getting back. Pace wasn't bad that lap. Not getting the turn in right for that left-hander. So either turning in too early or too late. That's just an awkward timing with the Mustang approaching right. They're on the racing line, they're in the middle of the track, and it's like, you know, whatever way I'm gonna go, it's gonna be awkward. So it's like, hey, how about you stay over to that side and I'll take this side. You know, that's why I rarely flash GT3s. You know, I flashed in that moment because it's like, hey, could you do me a favor effectively? Do us a favor, is really what I was saying. I'm actually using a bit more fuel than what I calculated. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Zach. I don't know if it was like a hardware issue. Or a software issue. Or just a technical issue, but he pitted and then the next lap, you know, he had crashed off by the pit entry. you know, just effectively 1 lap after he pitted. Yeah, so it seemed quite odd. And it, you know, I don't know why he pitted so early. You know, felt like he had an issue or something. Thank you, OBS, for the little blip. Sorry about that. If you noticed that, you probably did. Already halfway into this race. Again, just struggling for traction, trying to put the power down. But the car's like, nah, don't have the grip. I think in future I should just dive bomb that Mustang. They're going to get out of the way anyway, so might as well just dive bomb them. And then the car drifted a little wide into the wall. Another thing to know, of course, I'm carrying by an extra 20% fuel compared to everyone else, you know, so I'm running a little bit heavier. Of course, my tires aren't in the best of states after the first 10 minutes of the race. You know, so I would say confidently at the moment, we are second quickest driver on track. Which is a bit of a shame with how the race started. You know, like this could have been a good fight for P2. Never mind. Just snatched the rear tire again. Another 5 seconds will not get back. Another OBS disconnection blip. Again, apologies for the small dropout. Don't know what's up with it today. Oh, unfortunate for the Mustang there. It's just the rear end getting loose, letting go on them. What would be an interesting feature to add to LMU is surface degradation. You know, like if you watch gravel rallies, like example the Portugal WRC rally that happened at the weekend, you see that, you know, as the cars run over the gravel, they break it up, tear it up, and they create ruts. You know, sort of little troughs of where the wheels have been. They can be dangerous. Why are you flashing me? But during Sebring, of course Sebring's not a gravel, you know, place, it's tarmac. But on the outside of a couple of the exit curbs, like T1 for example, the sort of gravel that's on the outside of that curb got dug away, and you had these what must have been foot drops, or maybe about a third of a meter drops off the edge of the curbs. And they were steep vertical concrete drops, you know, the side of the curb, you could see it had been dug out. And obviously can't make sense, you know, rally cars can kind of handle ruts in their gravel spec. They've got so much suspension travel, and they've got gravel tyres. but circuit race cars cannot. Especially prototypes. That'd be a funny thing to add, just having vertical drops off the side of the track. You know, because you'd really be punished for running as wide as I did there. We are closing the gap on the Porsche that's in front of us, remember. They have to pit. But we're gaining like 3 seconds a lap, it looks like. And their pit stop's going to be much shorter than ours. It's probably going to be about a 10-second stop. So they'll lose maybe 40 seconds. It's a big ask. If we didn't have the couple of spins, you know, that lost us maybe 12 to 15 seconds. It'd certainly be, it'd be quite close, quite interesting. Of course, worth remembering, we ourselves, we're tight on fuel. I may need to fuel save. Finding some confidence in that braking zone to brake a bit later and not have as many issues. I think previously I was braking like right on a bump, but just slightly repositioning the car differently and braking a little bit later. I'm no longer hitting the brakes on that bump, and it's a much smoother braking zone. Turned into early. That gap is still closing down massively. We have like 10 laps to go. I mean, if we are closing it down at 3 seconds a lap, then that's 30 more seconds that we're not going to close in. Yeah, now we're within a minute. And it's not like, oh, they're fuel saving massively to save a pit stop. They're using as much fuel as anyone else. Sorry, for the OBS blip. It's getting quite annoying. So it is. How often it's happening. But unlucky with traffic. You know, 2 cars have cost us nearly a second and a half. Hopefully we'll get this Mustang before sunset. I have a feeling we're not going to... No, we're not. Don't lose too much time though around the outside. Like that, we saved a bit of energy to that lap. Catching up to Tyler again too. He's still 17% left. He doesn't have enough to go to the end, unfortunately for him. But he does have a couple more laps of energy than Ben Crick does. I'll save him a 3 seconds in the pit lane. But the gap to Ben is much more than 3 seconds, I can tell you that now. Start seeing pit stops in 2 or 3 laps. The sky is starting to get a little bit brighter, but temperatures haven't really come up at all yet. I think the track temp has dropped another degree. That's a little bit awkward with traffic. Tyler's just gonna let me go, which I don't mind. I wouldn't have minded if, you know, he wanted to have a fight. I don't think he does. He doesn't want to take any risks, and I am pushing to catch someone. I know he said, you know, he doesn't want to hold up. You know, he sort of wants to work as a rear gunner for the Cadillacs in the US versus EU standings, or as a rear gunner sort of for US. Of course, he's been the only competent Cadillac driver this race. You know, so I think he kind of realizes, you know, actually could be doing US a favor by giving the spot up. That was very late on the brakes. In comes Ben Crook. Unfortunately, I'm just in that little sequence of corners as the other cars that we're trying to chase down cross the start-finish line, so we don't get to see what their lap times are. And of course, being on the other side of the track, they don't show up on the relative. Ben Crook's gone for 19%. He might be saving a bit of energy for the rest of this race. New personal best by ever so slightly. I was worried I was going to lose a lot more time there. Like that, Ben Crook is right behind Tyler. Despite having made his pit stop and Tyler not. Oh! Drive-through for Fuskin. The other Porsches come into the pits as well. They've just come out of pit exit. 52.2 was their last lap. Oh, and they're off. P3, oh, it's 30 seconds. I don't know if a drive-through costs that much time. Fuskin invalidated their final lap. Their last lap. Previous lap. So, don't know if that was a track limit DT or a speeding DT. They have taken their pit stop, so it could be either. He's into the pits now. I'm not sure we're close enough. Ten minutes remain. He must be towards him. Yes, he's just reached pit exit. There he is there. This fight for P3 is on. Fuskin's gone in deep. What sort of a rejoin was that? Well, he's gonna have to let Ben through. Hard in mouth moment there. It'll be 2 laps to go. Fuskin is getting off the corner as well. Come on, we're in the slipstream. We'll maybe have a couple of GT3s here. That wasn't an ideal line. I just didn't have the grip around the outside. Oh, that's annoying to come so close to a podium. I mean, couple more laps, maybe we could have got it. P4 in the end. I mean, that is 6 finishers. It's not great. Yeah. We had the second fastest lap. Fuskin had the third fastest. Well, actually, let's just check. 76. Yeah, Fuskin did have the third fastest by 100th. I must say, very close between Fuskin and Zach's personal best laps. But yeah, we could have been if we didn't have that atrocious start. Yeah, and just if we had one spin less, whether it was the spin trying to put the power down originally that dropped us behind Tyler, or the spin once we caught up to Tyler the first time and just slightly locked the rear through the Le Mans section by pit entry, we would have been ahead of Fuskin with his DT. And we would have had to have done an extra lap, but we had like 95% for a lap worth of fuel. All we would have needed to save is like 0.1%, maybe 0.2, 0.3%, something like that. It would have been close, but yeah, that's all annoying to miss out. So close in the end. But yeah. Glad to make something of that race. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, a little annoyed, but hey, at least we had a battle. That's always the worry when you fall behind in such a manner. It's like, right, that's it. You're going to be in no man's land. And it's like, yeah, technically we were in no man's land, but it's like, hang on, with the pit stops, there might be a chance, we catch someone when they pit. And yeah, we caught, obviously, the Porsche. First Porsche made a mistake, and then yeah, second Porsche we nearly got from it. We nearly got another Porsche from a DT. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit iffy with that rejoin. I'd have to look back at it. Yeah. But So yeah, fun race in the end. Fun race that. Next week, we are heading to Silverstone for the penultimate round. Silverstone should be quite fun. It's a fun track, high speed track. In the dry this time compared to when we ran it in the wet in the LMP3s. So, we had the pace in the P3s around Silverstone. Just, the race didn't go well for us. Qualifying went well. So, hopefully, hopefully it will be a good one for us. And then we have Interlagos for the final round in a couple of weeks. So yeah, that's when we'll be back next Thursday. Thank you, Gigi, for chatting away earlier. Hope you enjoyed the race. Hope you have a good weekend. Thank you as well to those that were lurking and or have been watching the VOD back. Hope you all enjoyed. And yeah, thank you very much. Take care. Have a good weekend. Have a good start to your next week. And until next Thursday, take care. Hopefully I'll see you then. But yeah, take care. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.